Welcome to the Relatable Table podcast. My name is Gylije Dives, and on today welcome to the podcast where we talk about all things that are debatably relatable, whether it's dating, corporate life, relationships, suicide, or even dreams. I actually grew up, and a little bit of background on me, I grew up where I had psychic dreams. So I would literally have very vivid, real human life dreams. And I would walk into some classes and be like, we're getting a pop quiz today. And lo and behold, we did.
Wow.
And I got really into the psychology of it. And I got really into reading them and interpreting them. And with that, it's kind of become a little bit of my like special skill, I guess you could say. And so therefore I've invited my very good friend Cameron Bird.
Hello.
Comedian, entrepreneur. I mean, I don't even know your background. I feel like you've done some finance things, all the things. But I've invited Cameron Bird here today, and I feel like I asked him to share some dreams with me. He not only shared some dreams. It's funny because I asked a few people like, oh, send me your dreams. They're like, I can't remember. Someone's like, oh, my teeth fell out once. You sent me a 6-page document, 16 dreams. It's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, I've been documenting these
You've been
things.
documenting. I was like, oh, he's the perfect guest to first talk about dreams and what they mean. But I also feel like I got to know you in a way that I don't know if I ever would have, honestly. I don't know if we would have ever gotten so deep.
Wow.
I don't think you realize how complex some of the things in your dreams are. Like reoccurring horses means something, a consistency with water means something. And knowing the little bit about you, I made assumptions on the dream that I decided to dissect. But
I'm excited.
Yeah, without that, how are you doing? What's up?
I'm good. Yeah. And just for a bit of backstory, I've known that I've had weird dreams my whole life. And always. And probably everyone does. I'm not too sure.
So many people have weird dreams, but not consistently.
Yeah. And I just knew a couple of years ago, I started just really paying attention to them and started writing them down. I read a few books with Carl Jung, however you pronounce it. And I'm into it. But I have no idea about what any of these mean.
I've never looked it up?
I've done a couple of Google searches and had this can mean this, but it's very surface level stuff. So I'm interested. I'm excited to see what you come up with today.
And I'm not going to lie, because when I've done this in the past with some other people, and I'll tell you a little bit about, like, I definitely use Google. I also have an app that like talks about like Freudian psychology aspects of things. I will say there's a religious aspect of dreams that I'm gonna admittedly, listener, I don't care. I'm not religious, so I more look at if a theme transcends religion, then I'll like bring it into the interpretation. But sometimes like they can be very different, very, very different. And like, cause some things can mean death, some things could mean birth or nothing to do with in between. But a lot of my process, at least like when dissecting your dreams and even my own, is there's keywords, there's key themes. It's not sometimes the details matter. And in the dream I picked, the details matter, which is why I picked it. But it always has a lot to do with like your current state and where you are and all of that. But like, just for a little bit of background on you, these dreams are from the last 12 months, you said.
They are. All of them. Probably within the last, 8 or 9 months.
8 or 9 months. And you moved to New York in May?
In June.
And
I spent 3 months prior to that in Mexico.
Oh,
2 months. Yeah. So some of those dreams were from Mexico and some of those are in New York.
In New York?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so
I could tell you if you tell me
Yeah.
which dream, I can tell you where it was.
so that's exactly what we're gonna get into. So
Okay.
we're gonna talk about the first the first dream that you had. Well, actually, before we get into all of the dreams, I'm gonna tell you like my highlights of what I learned about you.
Please. This is so exciting, by the way.
Yeah.
I love this.
And for like context, like, and I don't want to say we're not friends. We're friends, but like I don't like know you in a like deep way.
Yeah.
So to level set.
Yeah. Yeah, I shared some pretty, like some of them, I was like, should I share this? I was like, fuck it. Whatever.
Yeah, and I literally, I was talking to like my friend Elisa, who you also know, and I was like, oh my God, like I wasn't expecting it. I'm like, I guess you don't realize like how vulnerable and like open you're being with some of it, right? And I didn't think about that because when you're doing your own, you don't. This isn't deep.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, oh shit, like this can be kind of deep. But like my key overall takeaways, and I'll start with an easy one. You are a creative and a visionary. Basically, this came from a lot of like your horse throughout some of your dreams. That is like what brought me to that like creative mindset. You're emotionally complex in the sense of, and you know, we should have had Mel on with you. Now that the next time we do this, because you have so many, we have to do it again. Yeah. But we should have had Mel on because I feel like I'm going to say this to you, and you are either going to agree with it or not. I feel like you are choosy on the emotions you show, but the emotions that you hold inside of you, you harbor them.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that's also what's causing a lot of the dreams is a lot of what you're keeping inside of you is because I think there's probably a perception you feel like you should have on yourself, as we all do, but what you also think you should be doing, but you're not sure if you're willing to take that risk. And if I had to guess emotionally, there are like you're not one to openly be like, I'm upset, I'm this, I'm that. You harbor it in and potentially are volatile in your responses to situations. So that was something I got from your dreams.
It's pretty spot on.
I think you reflect a lot on what you've done and what you're doing and what you should be doing. I think you maybe spend a lot of time thinking before doing versus being reactive in doing. Is that fair? Oh, okay. For context, I'm like, oh, we'll see what happens. Like I go and do. And then I think a lot of what you struggle with is like seeking a balance and trying to find like what is the appropriate amount of effort that you should put in, not to just relationships, but passions, work, your family, and also when it's time to sacrifice. I think you potentially struggle with like when do you make the call, when do you make the decision, what is more valuable?
Yeah.
And
I struggle with guilt.
Okay.
When I do make that call, like the thing that I left, because normally when you make a decision, you've cut something else.
Yep.
So I struggle with, but anyways, it's all human.
But it's all human, and that's also why I think like you reflect a lot, and there's a lot of introspection. So seeking balance, we talk. You're emotionally complex. Opened with that. There's a conflict between control and surrender. And surrender meaning like allow yourself to do and learn and feel versus like trying to control the outcome and also controlling how you feel extrovertedly. Whatever you know what I'm trying to say. But those are my takeaways across all of your 16 dreams.
Interesting.
But that
feels pretty right.
And I was trying to be as specific as possible because I feel like a lot of like when you look at stuff online and whatever like that's generic. That could be anybody, but like I was trying to like pick the things that I'll say this. If I didn't connect with it, I was like, okay, then that makes it a little bit, then it's less generic in how I approached it. So the dream I wanted to talk about today is your gnome dream. The first dream you sent me. I think, and I want to talk about both parts because you talk about how there's like one part and then the second part. They actually go hand in hand to a certain degree, and it's similar themes. But like if you can, in a minute or less.
Okay.
Do you need to see the dream?
No, I can.
You remember it?
I can remember it. So I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So also, actually, tell us the dream, and then I have questions about the time in your life of when it all happened. I feel like it'll make more sense to talk about the dream and then the time in your life.
Okay, so the dream was, it was in the evening somewhere, and I was at someone's house, and they had a swimming pool.
Yep.
It was at an Australian style low set house, and I can't remember being in my body. I just remember being present, but I was there.
Yep.
And there was 3 gnomes about a foot or 2 foot tall, and one of the gnomes was signaling me to come over to him, and I was like, no, I don't want to do this. I was kind of a bit scared. I was like, this is weird. And my family, my sibling, not my parents, but I have 4. I have a brother and 3 sisters.
Yeah.
And they were sitting on a table, like a picnic table, on one side of the pool. The gnomes were on the other, and I was sort of in the middle. And the gnome was signaling me over, and I was like, no. So I walked over to my family and sort of sat with them. And then one of the gnomes smiles at me. And when he smiled, he had the biggest, whitest, straightest teeth I'd ever seen in my life. And then what he did was he came across the pool to the table, but he didn't walk. He slid on his face. He didn't move his arms and legs. He just completely stayed flat and slid on his face, and then came up next to us on the table. And I think he came up and sat on the table.
Yep.
I can't remember. I would have to read the dream again.
And I will.
I think that's about where I can remember with that. And the second part of that dream, I was on a boat with my brother and my dad, and we were cruising down a very narrow canal.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the water turns to lava.
Yeah.
And then the boat explodes.
Yeah.
And then I wake up.
You wake up.
And is that pretty close?
Yeah, you did a good job. I'm going to go through the pieces that I dissect. Okay. But before, really, give me an idea of when. So were you in Mexico during this dream? This is before you moved
This was New York.
Did you just move to New York?
Very early.
You just moved to New York.
Just moved to New York.
And so you were 35.
Yeah.
And for context, you moved to New York to be with Mel.
Yeah.
Which all tracks. If I'm not gonna lie, I thought this maybe happened right before your move, based off of how I dissected it. But I'm gonna try and.
I mean, it could be. It could have. It would have been if it was in New York. It was. I would have to check the date.
Yeah.
On my, but it was within a month, like maybe 2 weeks before or 2 weeks of just landing. It was like right at that point.
Okay.
I'll get back to you on that because I'd be interesting to find out. I could check my phone.
Yeah, it was that. I went in. I'm like, this is either he left a job, and this from a while ago because I know that you're not working right now. I'm like, or this is his dilemma of like, do I move to the States? Do I go take the plunge, be with Mel, get married, do all the things? And for context, for those watching. Like, just give a little bit of context on your relationship and.
Well, we met 5 years ago.
You met 5 years ago.
My wife and I, but we did like a weird long distance thing.
A weird long distance.
And we decided to get married like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of like pull back and forth whether or not we do this, whether or not we don't. Even when I got here, it was like we kind of both agreed it was like a bit of a trial run. We're going to see how we go, and if it works, we're going to move forward with the relationship. If it doesn't, I'll head home. Yep. So there's been at that time was very everything was unsettled. Yep. I didn't know if I was going to stay. Yeah. That tracks. All right, now we're gonna get into the analysis part. Cam opens with the first one was at a swimming pool, but surrounding the swimming pool there were 3 or 4 gnomes. One seemed to be the boss, and he was giving me special attention. He was staring at me, and he wanted me to come towards him. But I kind of kept my distance,
And at one point, he opened his mouth, and there was perfectly white teeth and a smile, and he made a loud grunting noise.
That's right. It was like a pig noise, like like it was a yeah.
So a lot of times water is interpreted as feelings and emotions. Shocking. But a pool makes it contained. So it's not like you're emotional about a lot of things. You're actually like struggling with a very specific contained emotion. So initially when I was like dissecting this, I'm like, oh, is he like do I go to New York? Do I I've been in this long distance relationship for 5 years. What am I doing? But I think that still lends true because you moved here and you're like, we're just going to see if this works.
Yeah, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I hadn't started comedy here yet. I didn't know anything when I got here. I didn't know anyone. Yeah, it was a...
So pools represent a more controlled, confined emotional state. And you need to acknowledge and understand the emotions that are being represented in order to truly dive into your feelings. But what this is telling you is it's very specific feelings, right? But the gnomes, on the other hand, are a little bit of the contrast because gnomes are typically like luck, aspirations, and your intuition is telling you to do multiple different things. There are things in your mind, you're like, I want to do this, but I also want to do this, and I want to do that. So I think maybe there was an element... Maybe I want to try comedy. Maybe I want to get a job. Maybe we should just get married. Like I think you were struck. Like the gnomes are representative of positive things, like because gnomes are historically like mythical, lucky in nature. But the one that was like acknowledging you, to me, that's like saying, yeah, you're in this relationship. You want to be here. You want like this is what you should be doing. Take the leap, right? Like, especially because you had that distance of the pool between you and you're not by each other. Basically you're thinking about a lot of different things, but the relationship, in my mind, it was like the relationship saying like, come,
the pool,
do the push pull.
And the pool was like the barrier that that was like using. It's interesting.
Isn't that weird? Isn't that wild? I mean, not weird,
sense.
But like it makes sense, right? Totally. Like you connect with it. And there's also an element of like the water is like a cleansingness to it all. So gnomes, gnomes indicate your instincts, luck, things that are on your mind. The smile, because the smile means something. Okay. The smile, the all white smile, basically it indicates this element of, why am I second guessing myself? So teeth, like when you see somebody else smile brightly, it's like, hello, you should be doing this. Yeah. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? Like, this is a duh. Everything else, not so much. But the one who's smiling to you, this is you should be doing this. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And, yeah. So it's like, hello, let's do this. Come here. And like being on the edge of the pool means like you're just back forth of like, why can't I take the plunge? Why can't I do this? What's preventing me from doing this? The sound, and because you said it was like an oink.
Yeah, it was like a grunty noise.
But it wasn't like a negative sound.
No.
It was like...
It was almost like that was the way he spoke.
Yeah, he communicated.
That was him communicating with me, but in my knowing only English, I didn't understand it, but he...
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird interaction.
So think about it like when you have like a dog or a cat, like you know a dog, like a dog's like so excited to see you and like woof, 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 and they're smiling and they're happy. It's like, take the plunge. He's like, this mythical creature's like, hello, just do this. What are you doing?
Oh, that's so cool. I'm so glad I wrote this down.
You're like, now I want to do this all the time.
There's a reason for this.
There is a science behind it. It's not like you can just like have these gnomes talking to you.
Because I've heard about like Joe Rogan talking about gnomes when he's done, I think, DMT. I could be wrong, but he said some sort of psychedelic. He's talked about gnomes, but I've never heard of someone having gnomes in their dreams. I knew it was profound when I had that dream. I was like, there's something that's cool.
Yeah. That's also what drew me to it, is because I hadn't know. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't know gnomes were mythical and luck. I just thought they were something that stood in a garden. So for context, if I had dreamt about a gnome, it would have a very different interpretation. I went in with the assumption that you knew like gnomes beyond the garden.
Yeah, like my mum is like a gnome collector.
That might have changed the description. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm a gnome dealer, Julie.
New York City, that's the place to do it. Got moved to the concrete jungle. Okay, so now like he made his way. Okay, so the gnome comes up on the water, smiles. Oh, sorry. He made his way towards the table a few meters away from where I was standing. At the table were already your siblings were there. And the gnome jumped into the chair. It was almost like he wanted my permission. He wanted permission from your family. What that actually means, the gnome didn't want permission. You basically, your family being there, and so again, going back to like the gnomes being like your instincts and like the things you're like struggling with, where do I go, what's my direction? Your family being there is more or less interpretation of accepting, like you want them to accept the decision you've made, but also I was like especially because now you're married, like becoming part of the family. So I assumed this was about Mel when I was reading it, and I'm like, oh, like that was Mel's now in the family. She's now like, you were potentially thinking career. I don't know the other things that were going on in your life at the time, but the only thing that stood out as like, this makes sense and I should do this was Mel. And now like that instinct joining the table with your family is not just you wanting acceptance from your family, but like now she's part of the family. Gnome's there. He ain't going anywhere. So there's that siblings seeking validation. Okay, the gnome then jumped into the chair. It was almost... He moved from the pool... Oh, because he slid across the floor perfectly face down. And it kind of dragged himself in a way without needing to move his arms or legs. It was almost like surreal how it all happened.
It was completely weird. That was one of the weirdest things the teeth was one thing that really stood out. And the way he slid, it was so weird. It was like, it's just he just went boom, face down, and then just like it was so weird.
So basically, like, it's not what that means is it's not that deep, in the sense of, because remember the pool is all these emotions and feelings, and I think that you're harboring, but the gnome just sliding across, so weird. It was simple. It was easy. You probably introspectively, reflectively, I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Like, the way the gnome moved forward and came to you was seamless. Like this, like it's so odd, and maybe something you weren't expecting, that it like you. It felt weird and odd because it shouldn't have been that easy. It also felt weird and odd because it is something you've never seen before. And I don't know like how many times you've been in love or anything like that, but there could be a correlation there of, well, it shouldn't be like this. It should have been more complex. Because like had the gnome been around, like thrown around in the water, not making it, like what have you, that would be a completely different interpretation. But even you describing it as like, it was so weird and I didn't expect it, like, and it was just on the top, just meant it's not, it was never a wrong decision. Weird, right?
That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really sweet.
So Getting deep. Okay, and then the second part of the dream you had is completely different. So you were on a boat. I was a boat driver on a nice boat, motorboat. Needed to make that known. And as soon as it was established that you were the driver, I was the driver, I watched the boat in the third person cursing down an aqueduct or raised canal.
Yeah, so I was in the boat. I like in a lot of these dreams I'm not in my physical body, but I'm there as a thing.
Yeah, 100%.
But I was in the boat, and then all of a sudden it's like I zoomed out and I watched it like a third person video game, like from above.
Yeah.
So the boat was sort of down here and I was watching it. Yeah.
And then you go, as soon as I had taken off, I got hit by a small stream of lava, only about a half a meter wide. But it was a loud noise, and then the whole and then it was full of lava. Super weird, and then the boat explodes. You wake up. Okay.
Yeah.
A few things. Boat driver. Do you want to know what's interesting about driving a boat in meaning? It equates to new love.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You can even Google it. This is the first thing that came up.
Holy shit.
And it indicates that your life will soon be open to new and exciting opportunities. More specifically, boat dreams can highlight that you have a strong desire to be in love and be with someone who makes you feel like the best version of yourself. Did you ever think driving a nice boat? That means nice, but like a boat is indicative of the person you're with. So, like if you would have said like, oh, it was like run down, but I still, it gets me to and from whatever. That would have also been a perspective on like how you see like your relationship a bit.
Yeah, my brother and I weren't in that one. That was another boat dream. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I had another boat dream. My brother. Interesting.
And also the shift from pool to ocean, or a pool to other water, not contained water, is a positive journey ahead. So now it's, instead of like harboring on this, like, do I love her? Like, and I'm not saying this is what you were thinking. Like, do I love her? Is this what love is? Is this what I should be doing?
I definitely questioned everything. Yeah, of course.
But then, like, the second part of the dream is like, that's not the thing anymore. You're on this like positive journey, and new adventures typically. Now, lava also means something. Let me get to it.
This is super interesting.
Yeah. Lava represents center of your being, a place that collects all of your emotions and energy on a daily basis. So the way the lava kind of comes in, it's basically like your acceptance. So you've got brand new relationship, this brand new commitment. You're now open to all these adventures and journeys and positive opportunities. And then lava is just like that's Cam. That's your center.
Wow. So
that's basically like this adventure, this love, this relationship, and like who you are coming together.
Wow.
Bet you weren't thinking that. No. And then
I had no idea that the two would be related.
Yeah. And then the explosion is not probably what you would initially think. It's your willingness to confront and embrace change. And
well, I certainly feel that.
Yeah.
Because like my whole life has changed right now.
Yeah.
Like from 1 year ago.
New country.
Everything's different. Everything. I do comedy nearly full time now. Like, I wish I got paid, but I still do it full time. Everything's different. My life is so different. New city, married. Yeah.
Yeah, but like also
friends, new
podcasts, all the things. But that's also goes back to the volume of gnomes. And I don't know if you were thinking about podcasts or I don't know the other things that you were thinking about, right?
Yeah, I certainly felt at home that these were everything that I'm doing now and have done, and these are things I wanted to do.
Yep.
So I'm ticking off these, but I felt like I wasn't capable of it. You know how we always have that doubt. I have a massive. I can remember from a very young age, I've always had that very self-deprecating voice and very self-loathing for whatever reason. I don't know why. And a lot of doubt. I never truly believe in myself until I've done something a few times. Until then, I fight myself the whole way, going, "You can't do this. You can't do this." And I'm like,
but does it fuel you in a way?
It does, but it goes back to what you said at the start about like bottling things and exploding. I do that a lot. I'm like a combustion engine the whole way. I'm like explode energy, and I sometimes need to learn how to put that in a more positive way.
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning sometimes and I'm like so negative to myself. I'm like, why am I, and I'm like, I'm conscious that I'm doing it, but it's not good.
Are you outwardly negative?
No. I wouldn't say overly outwardly. I can be sometimes. Maybe with Mel, I can be negative about some things with just like in the confined and maybe a couple of friends. But no, generally, no. You wouldn't think of me as a negative person.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of you extrovertedly as a negative person.
Yeah.
Would you think of me as a negative person?
No. But I think you share a lot of the same characteristics as I do.
100%.
I think you and I are very similar.
Yeah, but I think the difference is you may not. I blow up a lot.
Yeah.
I blow up a lot professionally. I blow up a lot. I do.
But that's maybe a good thing. Maybe I should blow up more. Maybe I should outwardly blow up more.
You should, because if you're just harboring it, like it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I do. Let me put it to you this way. I take a lot of leaps forward. I had an old boss. I worked at a restaurant who's like, "You are a ticking time bomb. Not sure when that's set to expire." And I will say the duration between blow-ups has gotten longer as I've gotten older, thankfully. Right. But that doesn't mean I don't like harbor. I don't want to say anger, but anger, like true anger and like what the fuck is happening sort of a thing.
But then when you blow up, are you delivering that to the right person or do you deliver it to the wrong person? Because I can deliver it to the wrong person. You know what I mean? But if you're blowing up to the person that has made you, not made you feel, because we're the only ones control of our emotions, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then maybe that's a positive thing. I don't know.
I will say a lot of times my blow up and anger is misdirected. I sweat the small stuff. Yeah. But like big stuff, like finding out my mom had cancer or things like that. Like I didn't like outwardly like get angry or anything like that. But then if my fucking food delivery doesn't show up when it was supposed to, and then they make me go downstairs, and then somebody gets in the elevator and they're going the floor below me, and I'm only on the 9th floor, I lose my shit.
Yeah.
It's misdirected a lot of times.
You know, I'm very similar. And if I'm having a bad day, like someone even on the subway that like knocks me, I could be like, oh, I'm going to fucking... But you're in the big stuff, I'm pretty good. And in a crisis, I'm really good.
Same.
Like I've had some pretty big crises in my life and I'm like, I get overcome with this feeling of like control of the situation and all the emotion goes and I can think like I can be so present and so logical in a crisis. Like if the world is falling apart, I'm the guy you want to come to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same. I'm the one, like, you need to coordinate. I'm like, I will. You need everybody over here? I got this. Yeah. We're going. We're doing it.
Do you do a lot of leadership roles at work?
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
When I've done, like, because for anyone who wants to know, I'm an electrician by trade. So I do a lot of supervisor roles. I've always been in charge of, like, lots of people and big construction sites. And so there's lots of moving parts and lots of people and... Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, but I do also blow up on people, the right people. But I don't know.
Same.
I would need those people to come forward with the volume.
I regret sometimes blowing up at some of the people I have. I've sometimes taken it too far when there's been emotion involved.
Yeah.
When I've been an emotional wreck, like I can think of one time when I was a foreman on a construction site and we had this apprentice.
Yeah.
And I was having a bad day for whatever reason, and this apprentice was just getting under my skin, and he did something that pissed me off, and I blew up. And I told him, I was like, pack your tools up, get the fuck off this site. And he ended up getting fired from the company because of and I was in a position where I couldn't be like, it was kind of my fault. I just had to, I probably should have in hindsight. I didn't have the maturity then, but yeah. Can you relate? Have you ever?
No. So, and the reason I can't relate is for a very long time, I used to get pleasure out of bringing people down.
I want to do your dream analysis.
Oh yeah, they're fucking twisted, dude. Like, I have some serious shit going on up here. But like, there were times, and I'm also, and this is so, I guess this is me being vulnerable. I don't want to say that I'm strategic in everything that I do, but I think because for a long time, I actively tried to play chess in situations. Now it happens naturally. And I say that in at least what I believe to be is true, because I've met certain people who like hear like how I strategize to get to certain things, people, conversations, what have you, and they're like, so is like everything strategy to you? Is every person to get you to give you something in return? I'm like, well, first of all, everybody like we all, if we're in a friendship, relationship, meeting somebody, there's always a give and take. There's no selfless meeting somebody and walking away. Like, there's usually something people gain.
I agree.
So all bullshit aside.
Yeah.
That being said, we don't have too much time left, but
That's
I feel like there's one you probably want, the castration one. Do you want to know what it means? Your holes in your penis?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, that was a fucking weird one.
But it was a short one, so I can go to it. Where? Again, 6 pages, guys.
I had it, so for context, guys, I had a dream that talk about the dream. My penis was rotting off. It was like rotting off, and it had like holes in it, and it was like really quick. It went like that. And then I was like, what the fuck? Because that's, and I think I said on the thing, that's a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
So it correlates to rejection, symbolizes fears and self-worth, and loss of control of your own personal desires. So when did that dream happen? Where are you in your journey? Like, did you just start comedy by chance? Oh, you don't have dates.
That dream was in Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah. That dream was in Mexico, and in Mexico, I went to Mexico to surf.
Yeah.
But I also went there to buy a hostel with some friends. And I had a falling out with the friends, and the whole thing fell apart. And in that time, I had that dream.
Yeah, so I mean that kind of tracks.
Yeah.
Because you were going after something.
Yeah.
Self-doubt, and then it crumbled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You're like, now I want to know all of that.
I do. But yeah, we'll have to do another.
We'll do another, and I'll also send you the doc so you can see them too.
Please.
And if there's ever any, like, if you feel free to text me. You can also do your own research, obviously. I just try to look at multiple meanings across places, and then also
trying to draw a line then through.
Drawing line throughs, and then even psychology, because colors too. If like there's ever like you're seeing specific colors or things like that, it's funny because I'll have like dreams where loose teeth indicates like I'm stressed about money.
Yeah, we get your teeth knocked out. Yeah.
I am stressed about money, and it's not because I don't make enough or anything like that. It's because I either did something stupid or I'm about to do something stupid. I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to buy this. Like, and should I? Did I think about it? Again, like most of the time I kind of just do and figure it out. If I'm like contemplating something, usually I'll find myself contemplating for a long time. Like, I think I told you, like, I've been debating a podcast for so long. I'm like, do I buy a camera? Do I come to a studio? Do I do that? And that was, if I'm debating something in my head, then that, if I'm thinking back and forth, I'm not ready to do it. Because usually I'll just go and do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I tend to be able to jump into things pretty quickly without thinking. But then I'll think a lot then once it's done. But
the ADD plays a role in that.
Oh, the ADD is, for anyone that has ADD and you're like, I'm 35, it somewhat doesn't get any easier, I'm going to say.
It doesn't get better.
It kind of doesn't. You kind of just learn to deal with it, but it does make life a lot fucking harder. Have you been diagnosed with ADHD?
Yeah.
It's just sometimes I just feel all over the fucking place. It's just horrendous. Like, even writing comedy, I'll be like, I'll write a line about this thing, and then I'm like into the next thing, and then write a line, and then I'm like, oh my God, this is so bad. And it's like your life is like that. Well,
I mean, you saw in the storytelling class we were in, I feel like it took a long time, all 6 weeks until it was the last class we had that my story actually made sense.
Yeah.
But until then, it did not.
Yeah, and that whole time, you just feel overwhelmed by it, don't you? Because you're like...
But I don't know if you feel this way. I thought it made sense. Like, to me, it made sense. My brain was going there. That's a lot of my issue, is a lot of times I'll say, and this is not beyond comedy,
yeah,
but
you're like delusional. I don't have the delusion. I have the self-deprecation. I'm like, nah, this sucks. 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 Okay, now this is something. It's like, I don't even let myself enjoy the fucking journey. I wish I was like, this is the best.
No, it's not even this is the best. I'm like, this makes sense.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I don't know if I think any of my stuff is the best. Truthfully, but I do think a lot of things that I put together make logical sense that don't. And I even notice it even when I'm giving somebody feedback. I notice it specifically if I'm giving written feedback versus verbal feedback with somebody. There's a big disconnect. Usually written is actually a little bit better than when I'm like stream of consciousness giving it. And I also, and something I'm noticing too is I'll say something in a room and then people will kind of like, and move on. And then a little bit later, someone else will say it. And I'm like, that's literally what I said. And they're like, no, it's not. And then, because I record my calls, I'll go back and listen. I'm like, oh, I guess like, that's what I meant. It's definitely what I meant.
Yeah. I relate to that.
But I think that's a product of ADD. And I will say ADD and ADHD. People with ADD and ADHD tend to have more vivid dreams. That's definitely pretty consistent across the board.
Creative
brains. Yeah. Well, Cam, thank you so much for like literally letting me enter your brain. And I was like, ooh. I wonder if this means that. But honestly, it's been so much fun. I hope you got something out of it.
I love this. Anytime, Julie. Yeah. It was a pleasure.
And I'll definitely have you back. There's clearly 15 others that we could go through, and also anything net new.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Please.
Any plugs, your own podcasts or anything?
I've got my own podcast, guys. It's Going After It with Cam Bird. And my Instagram is Cam, C-A-M, Bird, B-I-R-D-A-Y, Cam Bird A. So you can follow me. I post up whenever I've got gigs in New York and whenever episodes drop of the podcast. So please take a listen.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much. Like, subscribe, comment.